Hello, welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. It is time for our astrology of the week ahead, and we are in our first week of December. Happy December. Last month, 2025. And she's a lot, folks. It's a lot. The switch into 2026, there is some intensity with it. It is an intensity that is both fire and water. And this week especially, we are in fire and water, and it takes a special presence to be with both of those energies and the type of intensity that we are moving through this week. So let's go through the week. We're talking about December 1st through December 7th, okay? And this, of course, is pulling us into our full moon on December 4th, our Gemini full moon, square the nodes. And leading up to that, we have some intense fire. And then coming out of that, we have the intensity of the last water trine that we've been working with since October in different iterations. So let's move through it. But it's juicy, the fire that we start out with. It's juicy because it's Hekate. And an astro wish loves her Hekate. Okay. I also have her exactly conjunct my sun. So I love me Hekate. But we are working with this conjunction of Mars, Hekate, and Juno. And the three of them are together on the 1st and the 2nd in Sagittarius, 19 to 20 degrees. But we're with the conjunction of the three of them all week. That said, it's the tightest on the first 2 days. Then Mars moves ahead, but Juno and Hekate are together into January. Okay, so there is this reclaiming of the divine feminine witchy. It is creative, it is fiery, it is passionate, it is saying no to certain things so that it can say yes to the passions that are actually about the path that we need to move forward with. Mars makes that even stronger as we begin the week out. There is a lovely entwining of divine masculine and divine feminine here. I really do like working here with Mars as kind of that reclaimed spiritual warrior in Sagittarius, where Hekate and Juno are helping to release the conditionings of a Mars and Sag that could actually be quite power hungry, that could just want to expand and seek control through understanding, especially its own subjective truth. But with the combination, they just bring this way of unlearning that has come into, if we've gone through any traditional education system in the West, we have had a very patriarchal, for all of us, understanding of meaning-making, interpretation, knowledge itself. And this energy in Sagittarius just blasts through that. And it also reclaims the ways of knowing that do not seek to create these artificial barriers between disciplines and information, just like there was a time when what was called magic and religion and science all entwined, and we've had such a sterile separation such that many people can no longer remember how to have more integrative learning. This Sagittarius fiery energy is all about reclaiming that. And again, that's the first 2 days, but we also have Venus, Black Moon Lilith, and we have our Sag, of course, our Sun Sag right now. So there's a lot of fire energy. It's carrying us through this week. We also have on December 2nd a lovely trine between Venus and Ceres, and that's a Ceres in Aries at 2 degrees who's now direct. That is just lovely for, I even got breath as I felt into that. That is really lovely. Again, we are it's reclaiming fire, but Venus comes through and she's bringing this divine feminine, truly, reclaimed understandings of love. There's been some lovely comments about love itself. That's such like the word soul. Love is another one of these words that is just used so much, and there's such good reason for that. But, it's also very overused. And yet, Venus brings in love, and in Sag, it's fiery, it's healing, it's trining Ceres, who is helping us to reparent. She's been on a retrograde journey, and she's direct, and she is so close to that point of contact in 2026 of the rebirth of Saturn and through Neptune, you know, so there is something about your primal fire drive, and we will be talking so much about your primal fire drive in 2026, but there is that divine feminine surge of it this week that is again helping fire. I do like always, had a whole big video about fire on Patreon. It's still really with me. It is important, you know, fire energy can have an intensity to it, especially coming out of so much water energy, because that flame is not meant to be smothered. And a lot of times we've been taught to smother our own fire, or to allow it to go channeled into certain acceptable routes. But this energy is about how your fire wants to burn. Okay, and also sometimes we really need to spend quite a bit of time with our own fire in our own space, because if we are triggered, it can be very reactive. It's fire, right? And while sometimes that is exactly what is needed, other times it is not. And so if we have had our own fire repressed, sometimes it's just like the return to fire is like we just want to put it all out, and there's always a place in healing for that. And yet sometimes it's better that goes into the journal, or that fire energy gets expressed in the sacred space of the car, and knowing that you could have things that need to be expressed. So journeying with fire energy mindfully. And this, of course, is pulling us into our December 4th full moon. And it is a rush of air insight with that Gemini full moon on December 4th at 13 degrees of Gemini. Sun, of course, is in Sag, and that is square the nodes. And I have a whole video on that. But just understanding that this fire energy, this reclaiming energy, is leading up to that full moon square the nodes, which can bring some really lovely insights into the here and now. I feel this really powerful reclaiming energy, and I know it's taking me somewhere into a future that I can't quite grasp. You're not supposed to grasp it. The full moon is lovely because it gives you insights for the here and now, and it's square the nodes, meaning this could be choice points. This could be just insights about your own journey coming up. It depends upon your chart, what's coming up in the stories of your life right now. But this is when it's a full moon square the nodes. This is something deep. This is something potentially quite karmic. It is also about the path of release and the path of expansion, and where your life is wanting to go. And again, not getting too attached to the big picture wanting to go. In the here and now, what are you experiencing? What are you seeing? Journaling is absolutely wonderful for this Gemini full moon, as is just, walks in nature, letting the insights float in. Of course, when we have fire energy, we also want to move the body. So those walks in nature could be really important. And then I need to move Charlotte because she's sitting on my little sheet of paper here, because that's what cats do. There's all these sheets of paper. One sheet is the one that I need to see, and she's on that one. And then we come out of our full moon into the water trine. Okay, now the water trine is building the whole week, and that has to do with our Mercury, who's now direct, moving through 21, 22, 23 degrees of Scorpio. Jupiter is retrograde at 24 degrees of Cancer, and Saturn is direct at 25 degrees of Cancer. December 6th and 7th, we have Mercury come up into the 24 into the 25 degrees of Scorpio. So our water trine returns for the last time. Now you've had your floaties on, you've probably gone under some waves and been confused about which way was up to air. The water energy has been intense. And it began with Mars and Mercury. We had the sun, we had Venus. Now Mercury comes for the last water trine of this cycle, allowing insights to come. But that Mercury is in Scorpio, and it is quite introspective. And the fire energy is wanting to go outwards. Okay, and that's why if you the full moon actually is a beautiful pause in that Gemini air, which is here and now, which is perception and also understanding, and is a beautiful pause to actually switch into the more intensity of the water energy that takes us through the end of the week. And there again, it's different because Saturn is now direct. Jupiter is retrograde, calling us back home to ourselves. Saturn is now making its journey into rebirth, full on. Okay. And so this is a different moment in the water trine. And this is potentially, but this is about your insights in your own scorpionic ways. This is about the depths of intimacy that you journey with partners, friendships. Intimacy covers so much. Intimacy with life, your own soul's journey, the wounds that are becoming the path forward because they are healing, and we are no longer desiring to repeat certain patterns in our way of being intimate. There is, again, switching into the water mode, watery ways of knowing are liminal. They do not fit into complete sentences. They fail a grammar quiz. They excel in poetry, right? Especially poetry that is expressive. This is not the poetry that we learned was right or wrong in 8th grade English class. This is your own expression, your own being, your own watery knowing. And it comes after that full moon, okay? And it takes us into next week. And then next week, we're going to have Neptune station direct at 29 degrees. So this is also our last full week of Neptune retrograde at the final degree of Pisces. That Mercury is, of course, heading to trine that as well. And that energy is part of the Mercury trine this week with Saturn. We pause for Charlotte kisses. We pause for Charlotte kisses. What is the message of kitten love, cat love, my witchy cat love? And it is a lot. That Neptune is a lot. And that Neptune it's under the surface of mind. That Neptune is deep feeling, intuition, it's grief, it is dreams, it is a very active dream life, potentially dreamscapes. And it is speaking strongly this week. So just knowing that, okay? Also, one last piece. As we come to the end of the week, true Black Moon Lilith, okay, so not the mean, but true Black Moon Lilith moves back into Scorpio, and she is at 28 degrees, so she's trine that Neptune, and she's also part of the water trine, okay? So Black Moon Lilith, true Black Moon Lilith, is here with the last water trine. Not a time for spiritual bypassing, not a time for emotional bypassing. So, and this is a shift of fire energy, because fire energy wants to move. Water energy needs to float with what's here. And as we come out of that full moon, especially because Black Moon Lilith is with this water trine, there is strong reclaiming. There is you owning the power of your scorpionic depths. And that is the sweet spot of power with. That is Scorpio's beautiful power. When Scorpio is not fear-driven, and it is in this transformative power with. And Black Moon Lilith says, conjunct Mercury there, all the water journey that you've been through, the waves, what part of your own self, this is not about other people. Other people, especially our intimate relationships, are going to bring some of the insights, but this is about you with Black Moon Lilith. It is about your emotional depths that you were taught to exile from yourself. And in Scorpio, there's usually some pain, there's griefy bits, there's chiseled bits, there is guck. And that guck is the moist soil that we need for growth and healing and medicine and beauty. And it is about claiming, reclaiming. Whatever in you is that knowing that is beyond words, that is deeper than the mind, that is deep in your watery ways of being, and has been taught it doesn't belong somehow. It belongs, you belong, and it's about belonging to yourself, and then in the way that you have an intimacy with life. Okay, and that's also important because true Black Moon Lilith is back for the water trine, but she was with Mars, Juno, and Hekate leading up to this. Okay, so she's dancing from fire to water, and she is all about reclaiming your own, especially spiritual power. I mean, Black Moon Lilith is the witch wound healing. Okay, and it goes from fire, it goes to water. And so it's about your spirituality. And I don't think it can be emphasized enough how much that reclaiming, that healing, I think part of the reason that there is so much out there on kind of healing that witch wound is because of what is coming. Because of what the outer planets, what is coming as humanity moves forward. Because while there is this beautiful remembering that is the healing, that is the reclaiming, there is also a mass forgetting of what it means to be human going on as well. And we're going to witness that even more, especially through certain quote unquote advancements in technology, which is actually just power structures advancing what it wants, which is the history of media and technology revolutions. But now it is in an extreme state. And so the call to heal and reclaim the earth-based wisdom that is in you, that is part of the birthright of being in these bodies, part of the way all the elements work with us. Black Moon Lilith has a lot of wisdom about that. And she moves from the Hekate Juno Mars to the water trine. And ultimately in that water trine, it is about a homecoming. Whew. 2025 is full. And here we go into the last month of it. So sending lots of fiery and watery love, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.